Coming up this week is a thriller in Sevilla, it's a cracker in Naples, and Monaco hits 6 again. It's a Football Hipsters podcast, your one-stop shop for all things European. Hello and welcome to the Football Hipsters podcast. It's a Monday/Tuesday/ whenever you're listening to this in your own good time. That means there's football to talk about. I am your host, Kris, and unfortunately, I have sad news to report straight off the bat. There's another international break coming. I know, it sucks. But hey, get your teeth into this week and we'll try and keep you entertained while the international break's on. More on that later. Let me introduce my merry band of men. I've got all three of us back together again, at least for the time being. I've got Drew, I've got John, and I've got Tom. Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Hola.
Hey, guys.
Welcome back to you all. John, how's the throat?
Much better, thank you. Yeah, much recovered.
Jolly good. Listeners, insert your own jokes here. I'm sure John will take them as they are. Anywho, we're going to crack on straight into the show this week then, gentlemen, because we've, as always, got a packed show for our lovely listeners. We're going to start in Spain this week, and with Tom, it's La Liga. Okay, Tom. So, what's been happening in La Liga this week? Now, we had a game between two of obviously one of the highlighted clubs, because they always are, Barcelona, but Sevilla have been very quietly shooting up that table and impressing in the Champions League. In fact, I said on the Satchel last week, they're one of the teams that have stood out for me above all the big guns in the Champions League this season, along with Monaco, of course, had to get that one in. And it seems Sampaoli and his very tight muscle shirts has been doing a very good job. But alas, it came to an end on Sunday, didn't it?
It did, but in fairness to Sampaoli, he was a master of creating a fantastic game of football with his style of play. Sevilla took it to Barcelona in a fantastic game of intensity, and they took the lead, going 1-0 up through Bitolo, this Spanish winger has really come from strength to strength every week on week. I was going to say season on season, but week on week he's getting better back in the Spanish national side. He was laid through by Paulo Sarabia, an excellent signing they made in the summer from Getafe. And the right back Sergio Roberto is mixed reviews from me. I had an interesting discussion with someone on Twitter about who would get into their right back slot, Bellerin or Sergio Roberto. He thought the latter, I thought the former, and it was a good discussion, but I think Bellerin nicks it because of the mistakes that Roberto is making, like he did here to allow Vitolo in to slot past Ter Stegen to put Sevilla one up is costing Barcelona in important and key games. But importantly, Barcelona got a goal back just before half-time. Messi was laid on a plate for by Neymar, who just very calmly and expertly finessed into the bottom left-hand corner. Arguments that is Rakitic offside? Is he interfering with play in an offside position? I lean on the side of no, but certain people who watch the North London derby can have their own debates about that one. And in the second half, Barcelona played a fantastic reply to their not-so-great first half. Messi was sublime. And he was made into the second goal by putting Suarez on a plate on the right-hand side, laying him off the great dribble, and the Uruguayan striker smashed in past Sergio Rico, who I have to say, Sergio Rico did have a fantastic game, and right at the end he stopped Barcelona from going 3-1 up, and just before that save, Nzonzi had a chance to actually level it from Sevilla from a corner, but his header went just wide. But at the end of the day, Sevilla can be very proud of their performance, and they definitely went toe-to-toe Barcelona, but on the day, Barcelona just were the better team.
Yeah, end-to-end in that second half in particular, it's just really, really good open game. Messi almost out-Messied himself, didn't he? There's that run in the second half where he just slalomed through brilliant. 5 people. And then weirdly, when it seemed the easiest bit, he just kind of blazed it over. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, and he had a tantrum as well at the end.
I was just going to say that. He had a bit of a paddy, didn't he? And the referee was trying to make a bit of a show of it, wasn't he? Because he forced him to take his boot, and because Messi sat on the floor and he's putting his boot back on, and then he forced him off the pitch to put his boot back on. It was a little bit silly, really, wasn't it?
In my opinion, the game should just play on. If someone's doing their bootlace, I think it's just a formality, and the game should play on. And it looked as if he was using it to time waste, and he did get booked, and eventually slammed his shoe into the ground, throwing in frustration. I think Arda Touré actually got sent off once for throwing a boot at a referee, if that memory serves me well. He didn't do that. He threw it at the ground and just stormed off the pitch and put it back on and came back on. But no, he wasn't happy, but he'll be happy with the result.
Yeah, who's Messi anyway? Never heard of him. Anyway, let's move on to our second game to highlight. Then Celta Vigo hosted Valencia. On paper, looked like two sort of improving sides. One of them came off the rails. Who got the win?
Yeah, Valencia lost again.
Surely.
It's a recurring theme. Obviously, they drew against Deportivo, which was the game that we couldn't cover last week because we were recording during the match and it finished 1-1. But it's unbelievable. They've now got an actual manager in with Prandelli, and even he doesn't seem to be getting this team to click. They're just lacking a striker. I think obviously they sold Paco Alcacer in the summer, and they've been playing Rodrigo up front, but he just hasn't been getting the goals for them. He's been in a couple, but just not the amount that he needs. He's not going to get into double figures, in my opinion. But they did take the lead. The young centre-back for Celta Vigo, who does look a decent player when he's on form, but David Costas brought down, I think it was Rodrigo in the box, and Dani Parejo, the man who always takes their set pieces, slotted home in the bottom left-hand corner to put them 1-0 up on 32 minutes. And then at exactly the same minute that Messi scored for Barcelona, the 43rd minute, Ron Caglia, John. Remember this Fiorentina centre-back?
Wow.
Quite an unbelievable goal for Celta. On the right-hand side of the box, swivelled and with his left foot, curled the ball onto the post and past Valencia's goalkeeper, Diego Alves. It was a stunning sight, which Terry Gibson on the La Liga Sky Sports podcast was raving about, just the hilarity of who scored it. But no, the Argentinian got them 1-1 up at half-time, and it took until the 77th minute for Celta to take the lead through John Guidetti, the former Manchester City, Stoke, Celtic, Feyenoord striker. And yes, the new Swedish talisman, who after Zlatan Ibrahimovic has left, he got the winner after Marco Diaz, is it ex-Hamburg draw, I think he played for in the Bundesliga, the Chilean midfielder. He put the ball across for Guidetti to put a diving header in and to take the lead. And Valencia had no reply, but it's just another loss. They lack goals. Nani's probably their best player, but he doesn't with any real intent of trying to play. It's just a mess, really, and you never know, they could go down.
Nice away kit, though. That's the important thing.
Yeah, I like.
Sociedad is our final game. They hosted Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid. Now, I don't know about you. I might be completely wrong. You'd know better than I would. But in my opinion, since El Cholo decided to announce that he was going to shorten his contract, things just don't seem to be exactly as they should be. Am I reading too much into that? Because they suffered another defeat here, didn't they?
Yeah, it was another defeat. It's their second defeat in the last 4 games, and it's been up and down for Atletico, the supposed title favourites. Is it linked to Cholo's announcement? I don't know. To be fair, the San Sebastian Stadium is a hard place to go to. I mean, Barcelona are all too well. They haven't won there in years. Real Madrid have a tough trip there soon. And Atletico didn't get any points as they went there, losing 2-0 to El Sociedad, who have now won their 3rd game on the trot. Manager Eusebio is being tipped to replace Luis Enrique when he finally leaves Barcelona. But it was 2 penalties that actually got Real Sociedad the points. Carlos Vela scored the first one. And it was actually quite similar to Dembele's when he went down in the North London derby. That sort of, and it's just like in the 18-yard box, and it's I think I heard someone say, I can't remember what manager it was, but they said it wasn't in a threatening position. But at the end of the day, it is a foul. A foul in the box is a penalty, and that's what it was. And Carlos Vela slotted it in. And in the second half, in the 75th minute, William Jose also slotted in a penalty to make it 2-0. Atletico had chances throughout the game. Griezmann had chances at the post. Gamera hit the post. All the right players in all the right positions, but I don't think they can complain too much. Real Sociedad handled them very, very well, and they go into, as I say, their 3rd win on the bounce.
I can't decide if John or I were up front for Real Sociedad whether we'd still be fitter and slimmer than Carlos Vela. I can't decide.
No,
I don't know if John. I don't know if John's knees and ankles are up to it, but definitely my
I
waistline
cannot move that
isn't.
quickly.
No. Although he moves pretty quickly when the burgers are in town, I gather, because he likes the tapas, I think, Mr. Vella. He loves a chip. We know that, of course. Dear, terrible. Anyway, okay, so another defeat for Atletico Madrid. We know Barcelona have won. So how did Real Madrid get on? And give us the rest of the results.
Yeah, well, Real Madrid run out a convincing 3-0 victory at home to Leganes, another Madrid side, newly promoted team, are just really struggling at the moment. Alvaro Morata got the late goal, but that was preceded by 2 Bale strikes. And it was just a game where Leganes just didn't offer anything, and it was an easy 3-0 win. The earlier game on the Friday was Malaga winning 3-2 against Sporting Gijón. Michael Santos, Sandro Ramirez, the ex-Barcelona forward, that is, who they replaced with Paco Alcacer, who hasn't scored. That might have been a mistake. And Pablo Fornals getting the 3 goals for Malaga. And Duje Chop and Viguera got the goals for Sporting Gijón after Lilio Castellano got sent off. Granada played a 1-1 draw with Deportivo. What's that? Deportivo drawing again. Yes. Lombard got the goal for Granada, and that was preceded by a 64th minute goal from Andone, the guy who replaced Lucas Perez in northern Spain. Osasuna lost again 1-0 at home to Deportivo Alaves. Alaves, another win. That's interesting. And Santos got the penalty in the 77th minute. So them all 3 points. Las Palmas won 1-0 against Eibar. Jonathan Vieira with a 94th minute penalty. I tuned in for the last 10 minutes and I was rewarded. And Las Palmas have won finally, which is nice to see. And finally, Villarreal 2-0 against Real Betis. Gus Poyet not having a great time. Roberto Soriano and Trigueros with 2 fantastic strikes. And you should definitely go check out the highlights from that match because it was 2 stunning goals. So nice to see Villarreal winning again, even though Sansone's not scoring as much. But Real Betis not looking great.
No, before we do the table, I have a question because I was curious about what the future, if any, Gus Poyet has at Betis, because there's been a lot of rumours swirling around that if he lost this game, he'd be gone. At time of recording, 8:20 on Monday night, he's still in a job, but it's widely expected he's going to go during the international break. Is that, do you think it will happen, and B, is it fair?
I think it's extremely likely that he could go. I don't like, when you say if he didn't win this game, they were away at Villarreal. I don't know what the Real Betis board were expecting other than possibly a draw, but Villarreal have been on good form, so it's a tough task to say, yes, you have to get a result here, otherwise you're sacked, because it's a hard place to go. But, Betis have been up and down. They've only recorded 3 wins all season, 2 draws. The rest have all been losses, and some quite heavy ones in there, especially against Barcelona and Real Madrid, who've scored 6 against them. But it's just an odd thing that Poyet's been doing. He's been playing Yaquin up front, which is strange, leaving Ruben Castro on the bench until bringing him on later on, and he is still their top scorer with 4 goals. Yaquin has 3. And it's just a strange. He doesn't seem to want to play them together. Obviously, Yaquin would usually be on the right-hand side, and Ruben Castro through the middle, and they obviously brought in Antonio Sanabria from Roma after his loan stint at Sporting Gijón last season, where he did really well. He hasn't scored, only featured 5 times, and it's a bit of a mess. I like Gus Poyet, ironically, and I think that he could turn things around if he was given a bit of time, but as with Italy, managers in Spain don't always get the time they need.
No, I would suggest if Gus does get sacked, don't manage Palermo, Gus. Just don't do it. Where are we in the table then as we go into the international break?
Yep, so the table's starting to take shape. Still pretty tight up at the top, but it is starting to forming the usual shape. Real Madrid are top, still haven't lost, 27 points. Barcelona 2 points behind, 25. Villarreal 3 points behind Barcelona. They've moved up into third after Atletico's lost 22 points. Atletico now 6 points behind Real Madrid, and they go into the international break and follow that with the Madrid derby, which they play at home on 21 points. And Sevilla are level with them, also on 21 points in fifth. Real Sociedad 2 points behind them now after some good form, 19 points. Down at the bottom, we've got Granada, who obviously got a draw, and they're on 4 points. But Osasuna on 7 points above them. 9 points, Sporting Gijón, and 10 points, Leganes, and in 16th place, Deportivo with 10 points. And I should say that Espanyol, because I've got this in my roundup, I must have cut it off my list, got a 0-0 home draw to Athletic Bilbao, which is actually a very good result for them. And even though they didn't win, and they've only won 1 all season, but that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, so we got a Madrid derby the week we come back from the international break, and Bayern played Dortmund that weekend as well, which I'll touch on with Drew in a minute. So, big weekend. For anyone who cares about international football, because maybe some of our listeners do, even if we don't, Spain squad was announced. Any surprises, surprise call-ups? Anybody dropped out? Anything that's worth mentioning there?
Well, it's actually the left back that was brought in was Escudero of Sevilla, who's been up and down, but he's been someone who I actually like watching. Obviously, he's been taken over from Trey Moulinas, who's been out of the side with injuries and some bad form. But it's nice to see him back in. Mata's also back in, which is good because he's been performing excellently for probably not in Mourinho's best interest that he's been performing well, but he has, whether to satisfy him or not. But no, Spain have a game against Macedonia on the Saturday, and then looking for their second game. It might just be one, in fact, from all I can see, against Macedonia. Yeah, so that's it as far as I can see.
Good stuff. Okay, good stuff. Right. Well, we're going to leave Spain there, and we're going to leave Tom there as well, because Tom, you've got to shoot off for work. So thank you very much for your time. If we do get any La Liga questions, we will we'll do our best to bodge them for you, or we'll forward them on to you one way or the other. I'm not sure which yet. I might get John to answer them for a laugh. But so yeah, where can people treat you if they wish to, Tom?
At TCanton94, and I'll give John a tester. John, what do you think the dimensions of Celta's new formations and attacking style would be compared to Deportivo's lacking in attacking strength?
49. It's fine, listeners. We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
And that, listeners, is why you should never tune into podcasts better than us, because we are clearly the elite of the elite. Right. Thank you, Tom. We will we'll speak to you in a fortnight's time.
A week's time. Yep.
Indeed.
Cool. See you later, guys. Have fun.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right. Okay, let's move on then. We're going to switch gears. And for once, France isn't last on the list. I know. Look at me organising the list better this week. So I'm going to hand over the reins to John, and it's this week's Liga Roundup.
Okay, so let's get things started with apparently the most entertaining team to watch in Europe, at least according to some people I saw on BT, Monaco, and a return to form for a certain Mr. Falcao.
Yes, I'm really pleased about this. It's a weird one, Monaco, because I know we've featured a lot of the top clubs, and we do feature the top clubs in our roundups a lot, but I'm going to address that in a minute. But Monaco, I couldn't leave them out of the roundup this time. As I said in the intro, it's the second time they've scored 6 goals this season. I think if you'd have had a bet on that at the end of last season, you would have lost a lot of money because nobody would have seen it coming. They scored 6 against Montpellier, of course, a few weeks ago. And 2 weeks before that, they scored 7 away at Metz. And now here they are again, scoring 6, this time at home to poor old Nancy. Now, I know some people would say, well, yeah, but they scored 6 against Nancy and 7 against Metz. They were from Ligue 2 last season. And Montpellier, no mugs. And although that game was a little bit nuts, they are entertaining. I mean, they really are ripping the league up. They've got the best goal difference in Liga. They do play an enterprising attacking style of football, which has all changed from last year. You might remember last year in Liga, and they did stink it up quite a lot. Only St Etienne, I think, had a worse goals per game ratio. So Jardim has reinvented himself a little bit. And the best part is they're doing it without spending thousands and millions and whatever of money. Yes, they have spent some money, but most of the recruits in the summer, you recall, they replaced both fullbacks. They brought through some youth, Kylian Mbappe Lotin, we talked a lot about on this podcast and will do again at some point soon with the Hipsters Choice when we get to him. He scored actually one of the goals. Falcao, as you said, got 2. He's 31 now, Falcao. Seems weird, doesn't it? But yes, it would be fair to say Liga is obviously not the strongest. Yes, we know. But it's just nice to see him. It's nice to see him kind of just flourishing again, and nobody wants to see a player his career sort of come to a grinding halt after injury, and it's good to see him back on form. Weirdly as well, they scored 3 goals in the last 3 minutes. Carrillo with 2, and Fabinho. And I don't know, John, if you saw this stat, but Fabinho is quite handy with penalties.
Is it 16 he's got in a row now?
Absolutely, 16 from 16. He's, I think he is one player that won't be a Monegasque next season. I think he will probably. I could actually see him at a Madrid or a Bayern Munich. He's that kind of player. So I think he'll probably move on. But yeah, Monaco are charging, as I say, plus 21 goal difference. They've actually scored 36 goals this season in France in 12 games. And that is, 12 goals more than the closest rivals, which are ironically Nice and PSG, who are the teams that sandwich them in the table. So, yeah, it's good for them. As for Nancy, yeah, I mean, they're going to struggle. They came up from Ligue 2 last season. They are organised despite this result. That they're pretty robust. But the trouble with Nancy is they're a little bit like Burnley in the Premier League. If they score first, they've got every chance of getting something from a game. But as soon as they concede, it tends to go a little bit wobbly.
Yeah, I've only managed to catch Monaco a few times this season, but they have been really good to watch, and lots of exciting young players there, as always in France. Moving on to our next game. Sorry, Kris. Talking
Yeah.
Bordeaux-Lorient, but it's definitely worth talking about because, I haven't seen every single goal across Europe from the weekend, but this is definitely the best one I saw was in this match.
Yeah, Diego Roland, who's a player I really like, actually. He's one of those, you get those kind of strikers. You've probably seen a few of them in Italy over the years, John, where they come in and they'll only get you like 7 or 8 goals a season, but most of the goals they score are really good goals. And you look at them and you go, why are you not getting more goals? Like the one that immediately springs to mind is Pazzini. You just looked and go, why do you not get more goals? Although he is tearing up Serie B for Verona, isn't it? I think he's got 11 and 12. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, Roland is a Uruguayan forward. He did get the winner. I will mention that in a second. But it's another defeat for Lorient, and I'll be honest, I'm getting a bit worried. They obviously don't have a manager. There's a lot of talk this week that there will be an appointment made during the international break. Apparently, they're in talks at the moment with Bernard Cassoni, who's underwhelming, maybe. He's a former Marseille manager, but also former manager of Auxerre. I don't know. I mean, he's been out of a job since August 2015. It's just a little bit underwhelming when you think they were talking. Apparently, Remy Gard turned it down. They were talking to Roland Courbis. They were talking to, goodness me, who was the other one? Herbert Fournier. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's go with this guy. And I don't know if it's an upgrade on what they had previously in Sylvain Ripoll. So I am really worried for Lorient, and they seem to be, when a club uses their whole squad and just keeps changing it to see if something works. They seem to be doing that a lot at the moment. Lots of changes. I don't know if you saw the sending off in this game, but Walid Mesloub was sent off for the most ridiculous piece of lack of what's the word? Professionalism, I suppose. Just completely just shoves a Bordeaux player to the floor and gets sent off. That doesn't help, that kind of thing. And 2-1 was the result. There is a very, very comical own goal in this game. If you haven't seen it, do look it up. Diego Contento leaves the ball to the goalkeeper, Prior, and he leaves it to Contento, and it just hits the defender in the back of the head over the keeper into the net. It's a hilarious own goal. It's the only way Lorient are going to score at the moment. But as you say, the winner from Roland, absolutely peach overhead kick from just outside the 6-yard box from across from the right, sails into the top bin in the
just
right.
The angle of his body as the ball approached him, because he completely
bizarre,
shifted and really, really impressive. Well worth looking up.
Yeah, it was very, dare I say this, very Cavani-esque. Cavani has a habit of scoring goals like this when he decides to score goals. More on him later. But good result for Bordeaux. I mean, they are quietly getting back to some of the form that people expect. They are 8th, but after last season's disappointment, that's a bonus for them. Lorient, however, at minus 11 goal difference, 7 points all season. They've lost 9 of 12. It's not good. Do you know who I'd give the job to, by the way?
Go on then.
Jeremy Eliadier.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know it's a really, really left field thing, but he'd come back to the club as a player.
I still think of him as being about 12, even though it's obviously wrong.
Yeah. It does feel that, doesn't it? But yeah, he's come back to the club. He's 33 now, and I know that'd be a huge gamble, but we've all seen what Nagelsmann has done. We've seen what like Sveti Howe's done in the UK, and Ali Adiel loves Lorient, and he's a real sort of, along with Jan Joufra, who left in the summer, the previous club captain, went to Metz. He's just got the sort of the heart and soul of the club, and I just think if you're going to gamble and go with a man who's not been in work for the best part of 18 months, why not just go full rogue and try something different? But that's just me. That's
That's fair. Next game, or last game, sorry, I'll say we're going to highlight. One of the sort of surprises this season, had an away trip to Dijon. Decent amount of goals, but a draw in the end, a 3-3 thriller.
It was, yeah, nuts. I don't think anyone really saw this many goals coming. The interesting stat for Dijon, they've scored the most headed goals in Liga this season. Most of their goals are headers. My man Diony, their top scorer, got on the score sheet again, so nice to see that. But yeah, Varro and Diony have put Dijon 2-0 in front, and you thought, yep, this is ideal. But then the young man that we've spoken about a couple of times recently on the podcast, Coco. Popped up, Marcos Coco, the 20-year-old Guadalupean by birth. He, well, I think he'll play for France, but still, he got them back in it. Julio Tavares, who's a monster of a man, by the way, headed them, Dijon, that is, back in front 3-1. But then late goals from Alexandre Mendy and De Paul with literally the last kick of the game. Dijon fell to their knees, absolutely gutted, I think, at the final result, 3-3. Really entertaining, and I wanted to highlight it, because Dijon are making a good fist of Liga at the moment. They're 11th in the table, which is not bad considering they came up along with Nancy and Metz, who are obviously struggling. And they're unbeaten in 5 now, albeit 4 draws in that run. But yeah, they're making a good fist of it. And as for Guingamp, they're still massively overperforming. They had 3 straight wins coming into this game. Obviously now a draw, 21 points, leaving them just outside the top 3. So they are currently 4th, ahead of the likes of Lyon, Rennes, Bordeaux, St Etienne, Marseille, above all of those clubs. So will it last? Probably not. They'll probably finish mid-table, but they are definitely overperforming and well worth a shout for a change.
Yeah, worth enjoy it whilst they can. But yeah, Coco is the real star to be coming out of there, and I hope he doesn't get prized out of the league too early like a lot of the players do. But yeah, I'm sure he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Yeah, 20 years of age. I mean, he's and there's a few there to be fair, but yeah, 20 years of age. I think he'll do all right. Mendy's only 22 as well, so keep an eye out for those.
Right, do you want to give us the rest of the results from around the league?
I shall indeed. Bless Rudy Garcia, John. He's not having the greatest time at Marseille so far. He started out keeping them nice and secure, and then shipped 3 to Montpellier on Friday, so that didn't end well. Boudebouz with 2, and Mounier with a lovely third goal, in sandwiching was it a Pionnier own goal, or was it a Thauvin goal? Not sure, but it went in the net. But Marseille lost 3-1 to Montpellier. Monaco we've covered. Bordeaux we've covered. Lyon back to winning ways with a win over Bastia. 9-man Bastia. Laka, the goalkeeper, and Kozak sent off in that game. Lacazette with a penalty and an own goal from Bengtson. Crivelli with a late reply for Bastia. Angers beat Lille, who we might touch on in the questions later on, by a goal to 0, leaving Lille in all sorts of problems. Nantes and Toulouse 1-1 draw. Martin Braithwaite with another goal, some more money to a charity from the penalty spot. Lovely away kit that Toulouse is, by the way, bright pink. Woof. Strapinski with the late equaliser for Nantes. Caen beat Nice. Be careful what I say there. A goal from Santini from the penalty spot. Nice, Favre choosing not to change his lineup, rather surprisingly, after the midweek games in Europa League. So Nice suffer a defeat. Metz 0, St Etienne 0. Listeners, I apologise. I called it my game of the week last week. It was 0-0. Nothing happened. I'm really sorry. Although, one thing that happened in that game, there was an offside goal for Metz is man who I've completely forgotten his name. Mevlut Erding, of course, which was never offside in a million years.
Yeah, he was like 4 feet onside, wasn't he?
At least it was the most ridiculous decision. So poor old Metz, because they could really have done with those points. But nevertheless, 0-0, sorry. And finally, PSG, the champions, are slowly, painfully to watch getting back to best football. They won 4-0 over Rennes. Fernandes with his own goal. Cavani with his customary tap-in. No, it wasn't. It was a good finish, to be fair. Rabiot and Marco Verratti, God bless him, made it for the best. PSG back to winning ways.
Lovely stuff. So do you want to give us the table and any news you've got for us?
Yes, I can do that. So, table, Nice and Monaco and PSG are in the top 3 slots. Nice 3 points clear at the top. Monaco, PSG joint on 26. We have Guingamp, as we said, in 4th. Rennes, Toulouse, Lyon and Bordeaux make up the top 8. St Etienne and Angers, 9th and 10th. Down at the bottom, as we said, Lorient are bottom. Oh dear. Nancy and Lille dropping into the bottom 3 now on 10 points. Danger for them. Bastia, Nantes, Caen are not safe. And then Metz, Montpellier, Marseille in 12th and Dijon 11th make up the bottom end of the, if you pardon the expression, of the table. With regards to news, probably the only thing to bring up, I guess, is the French national team. They've obviously got some games coming up during this break. And news of a couple of call-ups. Patrice Evra, who you'll know well, John, has been called up, as has Rennes goalkeeper Benoit Costil for their matches against the Ivory Coast and Sweden. Alphonse Areola is the replacement goalkeeper. He's dropped out due to injury, and Levin Kuzawa has had to withdraw as well. So those are the replacements. Other than that, it's I don't think there's really any big surprises in the French national side, to be perfectly honest. Lacazette being left out, maybe a bit of a surprise. Anthony Martial also left out, but they've got enough really to beat Sweden probably in the qualifier there. So that's the only news we have.
Lovely stuff. Well, I'll hand back over to you, mate.
Super. Right, okay, let's move on then and see what has been going on in Germany this week. We'll go across to Drew for this week's Bundesliga update. Okay then, Drew. We'll start with Hertha Berlin and Mönchengladbach. Honestly, we're not trolling John, sorry. But I know
we kind of are, let's be honest.
We kind of are. I know you want to ask John a question, but first of all, what was the result if people can't already guess by now?
3-0 Hertha at home. Solomon Kalou had a hat-trick, actually. So back to at least temporary goal-scoring ways reminiscent of last season. He was excellent. I thought on the whole, Hertha was actually pretty good. Mitchell Weiser had another good performance, starting at the right side of the attack instead of right back like last season. The right back. I think the right back thing from him last season was more of a necessity for the side, as they didn't really have anyone who could really step up. But now you have Mittelstadt is playing at left back, and Peter Pekarik is now at right back. So Weiser, as you saw from him at Bayern, where he was playing for the forward, he's been there this season. He's been much, much improved, even more so than last season, even though he was good last year. So he was a big factor, actually. I think without Weiser's performance, I don't know if Hertha find those 3 goals. I thought it was brilliant. So highlight to that. But Gladbach, just oof. Don't quite know what's going on, but I wanted to get just John's thought. John watches more Gladbach than I do. Honestly, I don't watch too much of them, despite how much I pay attention to Bundesliga. So for John, simply put, I guess the question would be, it was an even match from a number standpoint, but obviously numbers don't mean everything. For you, what was the issue? Past the fact that Christoph Kramer got sent off for a second bookable offense, but you guys were already 2-0 down. So the red card notwithstanding, rather, what do you think are the real issues right now for Gladbach, and how can they fix that? I also know that Torgan Hazard didn't even start the match, and he was honestly Gladbach's best player in the early exchanges of the season. He was doing brilliantly, but he didn't even warrant a start. So what for you is going on right now?
It's really difficult to say, because I think there's sort of mixed communication about what the club are really trying to achieve this season. They kind of look like they're prioritising the Champions League, but the wrong games. Like, they're in a very tough group and they're unlikely to get out of it. So realistically, the aim was probably get third and get into the Europa League, and that's more their sort of level and where a competition they can progress in. But they had the disappointing result against Celtic, which wasn't great. I don't think the rotation's been the best at time. Herman was playing as a wing back essentially in the game, which okay, it's great going forwards, but he's not going to help defensively. And he's also on the same side as Nico Elvedi, who, whilst promising, is still very inexperienced. And the backline in general, he's got Vestergaard next to him, who again, not a bad defender, but he's only 24. Janska's on the all the way on the other side of the pitch, as is Oscar Wendt. So you've got Strobel in midfield, even though he's a defender. There just seems to be a bit of a mess there, and the biggest issue is the lack of goals at the moment. I don't think we've scored in like 4, it might be 5 games now. And for me, the real issue is that we haven't got a real out and out striker. You've got Hoffman, sort of can pull the strings and can get a goal, but he's not a striker really, he's a midfielder. You've got Stindl playing up there, who's not even a second striker, but he's not quite a number 10, he's more of an attacking midfield. Raphael is a real number 10, but plays as a striker. And since Max Cruz has gone, we haven't had one. Christopher Emma came back to the club and everyone was very excited about it, but it's not the same now. He was playing alongside Xhaka when he was first there, and now he doesn't really have a midfield partner unless it's Dahoud who plays next to him, which is great, but then you have no defensive cover in midfield. So I think it's a case of Schubert really needs to pick one system, and if it's going to be this 3 at the back, then he has to play the right players. You can't have Herman as a wing back. It just makes this complete unbalance in the side. So you need to bring players like Korb and that back into the team. Or just go back to a back 4 and play it simple. There's clear. For me, it seems a bit of confusion from the management of what is the best way to play. I've got to say though, Herfer on the day were brilliant, and Kalou, as much as I used to mock him for his days at Chelsea, was really, really good. And it's probably nice for him as well, because I think he was out on compassionate leave, wasn't he? For his father had died.
Yes.
So nice return for him, but there's just too many issues needs to be fixed, and I think they've sort of just got to just throw the Champions League, ignore it, and stop worrying about it, because it's really starting to take a toll on them.
I think you actually brought up something interesting. The fact that Patrick Herman was playing as you wouldn't even say he was an advanced right back, and he wasn't a right side attacking midfield. He was like something in between, and then he had some Oscar Wendt on the left. But I think for me, it's just, I think Schubert really wants to use the abilities of your wide players and rely on those too often, because you don't have that central figure in the attack that you have from a center forward, like Max Kruse. So because as you said, Lars Stindl, if you had to say he was a striker, you would say he was a second striker. Yeah. But for me, Raphael shouldn't even be playing striker. And I think he certainly overachieved a bit last season, for me personally. Mm-hmm. But then you have players like Torgan Hazard did so well playing just behind the striker or as a second striker. And then Fabian Johnson had to come off the bench. Andre Hahn wasn't in the 11. Mahmoud didn't even play. So you have 3 or 4 influential players who usually those are some of those top performers that you've had, and you didn't play them, or at least from the off, and I think it showed a bit. But I think going back to a back 4 might be actually very, very beneficial. Again, giving Patrick Herman this is 0 defensive responsibility might be the best for both him and Gladbach, because he's just not a defensive player. He definitely, you can't say he poaches necessarily, but he definitely likes to hug the touchline and give that quick option out wide where he picks up and run, and he's so quick with the ball, without the ball rather.
Just let the players that are good at doing that thing do that thing. Like Oscar Wendt can play as a wing back all day long. He'll run up and down the left hand side. That's fine. I've got no problem with that. But like obviously, and this is not blaming all on Herman. It's just the system. If that's the system you play, you shouldn't really be playing him in it. If you're going to put Herman in the team at all, then you could maybe have him as one of the 2 up front, just because he has got the legs to run beyond the defence. But you can't play him as this sort of weird cross between a wing back, right back. He's not really a winger. It's very strange. I think
for me it comes down to a balance issue, because Christoph Kramer is anything but the type to go forward and really affect proceedings in an attacking sense. And Tobias Strobel by trade is actually a center back, but he can play holding midfielder, but he doesn't really provide all that much going forward. And then so with that in mind, I think that you lack a lot of creativity when you don't have someone like Dahoud in the middle, or when Torgan Hazard's not playing. And then so I think on that day, I think you really want to just be that team where you supply from the wings, which, I mean, I guess against a less defensively sound side, it would have worked. But Hertha, they laid their groundwork last season with a strong defense, and it's picked up again this season. Brooks and Stark have been excellent through the middle. Mitchell Weiser is playing for the forward, but he does get back because he can play right back, and they support each other as a team a little bit better. And I think it's just one of those things where, against a different team, maybe if you play a little bit better, you would have gotten the result. But I think the approach was incorrect. So I think Schubert just needs to find the. I think your balance is just really off. It's definitely not the Gladbach we saw from last season. That is for sure.
No.
So I'm not quite sure what's to change. But for me, I don't think they should be focused on Champions League at all. I think you're right when you said that. It's Europa League. You guys have a bit more work to do, I think, before you can really challenge to maybe aim for getting second in the group in Champions League.
Absolutely.
But I mean, it's early. It's too early to rule you guys out for pushing up the table. But I just wanted your take because for me, I've been disappointed with them this season. Certainly, I thought they could have maybe easily fought for a top 4 place. They still can, but early signs are balance problems. I thought so.
One last thing before you move on. Sorry, it also helps when Nico Elvedi, instead of kicking the ball straight at one of the Hertha players, if he clears it properly.
Yes,
yeah, that doesn't help, does it? Yeah, that's quite comical if you haven't seen that. And yeah, some good finishes from Kalou, actually proving that he has still got something to offer when he's focused, etc. But and obviously commiserations, condolences. That's the word I'm looking for with regards to his passing of his father, I believe it was, wasn't it? So yeah, unfortunate news. Anyway, on more fortunate news, let's move on to another game and. I think you said last week, Drew, you wouldn't be surprised if Nagelsmann's Hoffenheim got something from the Bayer Arena, and that's exactly what they did.
I mean, barely, but, not too many sides can say they went to Munich and came away with a point, let alone 3. It was 1-1 at the end of it. Karim Dimmerberg continued being arguably one of the best players in the Bundesliga this season. He opened the scoring in 16 minutes, and then, unfortunately, Steven Zuber gifted Bayern an own goal. But honestly, Bayern should have won. They hit the bar twice in the last 5 minutes, Thomas Müller and Mats Hummels both. And Bayern only had, I think it was 5 chances in the first half, but ended with 21 on the whole. So they had 16 chances in the second half where Hoffenheim only managed 1 or 2. So it was very much, I think, a different approach once, when Bayern level and you really know that they have the ability to really kick on. And once they get that goal and they smell blood, they can get 4 more if they really feel like it. So I think it was one of those, we can't really play how we really want to play. It's more if we need to play so we get a result. And I think he got a good point out of it, but again, as I said before with the Gladbach issue, that numbers don't really speak anything. But if you look at these numbers, you have to think that Hoffenheim got a little bit lucky. But also you could say that Bayern were probably a little bit wasteful. And we said that a few times in last season, where Bayern are always going to create chances. No one can create more than they can, bar the bigger teams. So you have your Barças and your Reals and whatnot. Bayern are excellent in the final third about really picking you apart and really finding the way in. But I think they're probably arguably the most wasteful when it comes to chances created and chances that they finish off. On their day they'll get 5 one match, but the next match they might not even find it back on net despite the many chances they create. So I think that it's a good point for Hoffenheim, but I think it did show that there's a big gap still that they have to overcome, and that they're not ready to really say that they can challenge the bigger boys in the Bundesliga on a consistent basis. But maybe they can pick and choose the matches that they want to target, maybe going on and maybe saying, maybe we can win this one. But I think still that this proved that Bayern are still, as good as they are. But I think Ancelotti would be disappointed with the fact that they didn't get the full 3 points, but Hoffenheim will certainly take it.
Yeah, I agree. And that the Kerem, what was it? I can never pronounce his bloody name. Karabai, how do you pronounce it?
Kerem Dimmerbe.
Kerem Dimmerbe. There we go. Thank you. His goal, well worth looking up. Terrific strike. And and Bayern playing in this recycle bottle kit, which was bizarre.
I thought it was a cool idea, but the kit looked garbage. Literally. Yeah, no pun intended.
Yeah, hey, very good. You could see the badge or the numbers were there, but
you could barely see it.
Was that the recycled from plastic bottles in the sea or something.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Real Madrid have got one as well. I don't know if they should have asked Tom. I don't know if they wore theirs as well, but it's essentially just a plain colour. Even the sleeve badges were.
It's a good idea, I guess. Good promotion.
The idea itself is brilliant, but I think the practical way that they put it into with the kit itself didn't look very good. But I love the idea. But I just think it didn't look nice.
And for the record, Adidas are behind Nike because I'm sure I'm right in saying Nike have been making their kits out of recycled products for about 3 or 4 years now. So
it's just because you love Nike. Let's be honest.
Well, maybe. Anyway.
Just don't ask what country they're made in or by what age the people are.
Allegedly. Right, on to football again. Leverkusen, Darmstadt. This was a thriller that I'll be honest I didn't see coming, and it included a 64-mile-an-hour goal from, well, I'm sure you can tell us who it's from if they haven't already guessed.
Well, here's the thing. Pretty sure I said we were going to do Leipzig, not Leverkusen.
Oh, did you? Oh, whoopsie daisy. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll just tell the listeners they won 3-2, and it was an awesome strike from Hakan Çalhanoğlu. Sorry. So Leipzig, just giving you a bonus game there, all free. Sorry, that's me. Dreadful preparation. Sack the host. Leipzig. They keep winning. Put it that way. And this weekend was no exception. They blew away Mainz, and they're just awesome, aren't they?
I mean, I think I've run out of positive things to say, and I don't really know if I can find anything negative. I think in this performance, a Martin Schmidt team with the quality that they do have, I think they're always going to be tough to maybe blank on the score sheet. So it finished 3-1, but I don't really think you can really criticize RB Leipzig in that regard. I thought Timo Werner struggled at Stuttgart, but I think everybody struggled at Stuttgart last season except for Filip Kostic and oh good God, what's his name? He's at Wolfsburg now. No, what's his name? Yes, they were the more consistent performers. Werner was younger. He's still raw. He's been brilliant for German under-21s and under-19s before that for a very long time. He's been a very good goal scorer there. But this was the year where people were going to say, if you do start to see something of him, you'll see it this year, and he's proven just that. I thought he was excellent. He had 2 goals and an assist. Emil Forsberg, your favorite Swede, had a goal and 2 assists. So they've combined very, very well moving forward, especially going down the left because Werner likes to drift left. Forsberg does come centrally a lot to create, but he can also drift left, so that gives Werner that avenue to make a diagonal run on. And I think with Yusuf Poulsen as his strike partner, who's bit bigger, he's got some pace for a big striker, but he can hold up play very, very well. And when you have Werner and Sabitzer on either side of you, I think that's dangerous for anybody to try to defend against. And then when you have Forsberg coming through the middle, they have such a really good attacking balance, such great pace going forward, especially on the counterattack. I don't think there's a single match this season where they've actually had the balance of possession in their favor. Even in this instance, I think Mainz had 51-49, and Mainz are a team that they can possess, but I think they also prefer to sometimes play on a counterattack as well, at least in most matchups you'll come to find. But I think that RBL are laying the groundwork as they should. They look at the pieces that they have, especially in an attacking sense, and they utilize the pace that they have. They create a lot of space for each other, and they just feed quick players into space, and it kills. It really does. Pace on the counterattack kills, and I think as Arsenal fans but also fans of the Premier League, you can see that what pace in the counterattack can do. I mean, Leicester won the league literally basically just off of that. But on the negative side, you see like instances where we wonder like what happens when Theo Walcott and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain don't use their pace to get into space, and why we can't kill people off with just that. But Real is showing you what you can do with motivated young players who have pace, they have ability, and they just keep it simple. It's nothing complicated. Basically, they just play counterattack. They don't even really try to possess. They don't really try to build up play. Naby Keita and Diego Dem are the 2 deeper midfielders that they have usually. Sometimes you'll have Randy Khedira, he'll come in. Dominic Kaiser as well, he'll also come in centrally sometimes. And they just win the ball, get it to someone like a Forsberg, or even the deeper midfielders will just play a long ball and let the attacking players go to work. And it's just simple. It's working. It's effective. Hasenhüttl's found a really good balance in the team in his first season there. And he's got a really good young core group of players that Urbiel can really build something positive on, and that's their whole goal. That's their 3 to 5 year goal, is that they want to become consistently challenging for European places, getting into Champions League, maybe even targeting the league within 5 years. They want the new ground. People don't really like how they've put themselves in that position, but it's working. And at least you might not agree with how they've built the club, but the play on the pitch is what you can really sort of, I think, you have to admire for sure at the moment.
Yeah, they are impressing. Whether you like them or you don't, they are there, and it looks like they're there to stay. We shall follow them with interest. I know our good friend Korosh Mustavi is working on a piece highlighting Leipzig and his thoughts, and when he's finished with that, he's given us the offer to publish it. So stay tuned when that's up. We will let you know.
I'll also have to retract, and I'll have to, honest to God, say I was incorrect about something. That's a first.
Well, it's the first for everything.
It's the first. They're tied for the second best defensive record in the league. They've only allowed 7 goals in 10 matches. And I did say before that I thought if they have that it was going to be questions at the back. I didn't know if the likes of Marvin Kamper, who used to actually play for Hoffenheim 5 years ago or so, that if he had what it takes to help Willy Orban settle into the life of the Bundesliga, but I thought they've been really, really good at the back. But I think that all comes down to finding that balance. The fact that you have the deeper midfielder players that they do have that will come back and support the defense. I think that's what you need. And it's been working. And I think you can't speak highly enough of it. So as long as they'll continue to score goals, they score 20 and 10 now. So they're averaging 2 goals a match at the moment. As long as they can still keep their defensive solidarity, I think a push for Europe and maybe even Champions League is definitely possible. But if they lose their ability to defend consistently and well, then I think you might see them start to struggle. But for now, they look like home at the back for sure.
We watch with interest. What were the other results then from the weekend's games?
Well, we know the Leverkusen won, smooth going. Dortmund went to Hamburg and won 5-2. Not really a surprise. Augsburg went to Ingolstadt and won 2-0. Wolfsburg actually went on the road to Freiburg and won 3-0. Eintracht Frankfurt played host to Cologne and won 1-0. And then Schalke was at home against Werder Bremen and won 3-1. So.
And that was your weekend's games. Where does that leave us in the tables then?
Bayern and RBL are tied joint top on 24 points. Hoffenheim and Hertha are tied for third on 20. Dortmund and Köln are tied, and Eintracht are tied for fifth on 18. And Bayer Leverkusen are eighth on 16. Hamburg and Ingolstadt are tied on 2 points for 17th. Werder is 16th on 7, and Darmstadt is 8 points in 15th place.
Busy stuff. And I'll ask as I have the other guys. German national side, I believe there's been a few players rested, a few left out. What sort of surprises, or if anything, any surprises that are coming up?
I had this talk in one of the WhatsApp groups for ABW, and I said, I've been saying it for a couple of years, if he got first team football, he would see the results, and now Serge Gnabry got called up for the national team. So there you go. He's been excellent. He scored at the weekend for Werder Bremen, actually. He's hands down, he's been their best player. And if there's a player who has clicked on Jürgen Löw's radar, he'll give them a shot in the national team. He might not play in any of the upcoming matches, but he brought him into camp, see how he responds, and then he'll take it from there. If he responds well, he'll give him some minutes in one of the 2 matches. But it's more of, I think it's just introducing him into the full system and getting maybe some chemistry built with a couple of the players, that kind of thing. But as usual, it's a strong German side, so you'd expect them to go out and get results.
Yeah, he looks very settled in Bundesliga, absolutely. Yep. So good for him. Okay, I know we've got a couple of German questions for later on, so we'll be back to you in a moment. All right. Oh, actually, before we leave, very quickly, there has been a sacking in Germany this week. Who's gone?
Ingolstadt. I mean, we talked about this before. I think was pre-recording that I bring this up? That the fact that I think for a newly promoted side, you would say that they borderline overachieved last season, given where they placed. And early season struggles. I think they have 2 points from the matches at the moment. So, I think it's kind of a quick sacking. I think when you overachieve in your first year, sometimes you'd have to expect a tougher second season. The sides are going to know what you're about. They're not exactly swimming in cash, so it's really hard for them to really reinforce the side with the aim of trying to stay up. Obviously, you want survival, but they didn't make a ton of key additions. So it's going to be tough for them to bring in the quality that will give them that depth that you need. So I think it's a bit quick to pull the trigger on that. If this was 10 matches from now, you could say you might expect it, but I think the other, you might have to look at it from their point of view is if we get a new man in now, and then he can sort of right the ship quickly enough, he has enough time over the course of the remainder of the season, which is still 24 matches, to put them in a better position. The longer you wait, the tougher it might become, and so I think maybe that might be where the board's coming from, but that's the only change for now when it comes to the managerial standpoint.
Yeah, it's a little bit knee-jerk, but nevertheless, they obviously felt the reason to do it. So, yes, as I say, we've got some questions for you in a little bit, so we'll come back to you. But we will move on, and just the one league to go in our usual roundup, and it's, of course, John's turn, and we'll nip over to Italy for our roundup of this week's Serie. Okay, John, let's start with a game that I didn't see live, but I did see the highlights of, and that is, as we now have to call them, Joe Hart's Torino, and they hosted Cagliari and ran out pretty comfortable winners.
I think between the two of them, their last 5 games, it's something like 49 goals. In their last 5 games in Serie. So there's plenty to expect in this, and it took all of about 2 minutes for your favourite Belotti to get himself on the score sheet, just reacting, beautiful volley, shot on the edge of the box. That was 2 minutes in, and it pretty much told the story for the rest of the game. Adam Ljajic, oh God, why didn't Inter Milan sign you? He got himself on the score sheet not long after that. He'd almost scored a few minutes before from a lovely free kick. Then one of the very exciting young midfielders they've got in Italian midfielders, to say, in that Torino side, Benassi, with what probably would have been the goal of the weekend were it not for Roland Bordeaux. Lovely, just ball into him, was back to goal, edge of the box, turns, spins the defender, and absolutely rifled it into the bottom corner. Cagliari did get one back just before half-time, Melchiori getting consolation goal. But then second half, the other young Italian midfielder, Baselli, getting Torino's 4th, and then De Sena bringing down Belotti in the box. Straight red card. By that time, the game was already over. It didn't really matter. Iago Falque stepped up to take the penalty, but Mihajlovic stopped him, screaming from the sidelines, made Belotti step up to take it, who had missed his last 2. Didn't make the same mistake this time. He slotted it in, got his second goal of the game. And Torino ran out 5-1 winners. Little mistake from Joe Hart for the goal, it must be said, that Cagliari scored. It was the dreaded diving down to his left-hand side, which apparently is his big weakness that people have pointed out. He did also have a slight flap from a corner, and where he dropped the ball, and Cagliari players were claiming it crossed the line. Actually, he had to use goal line technology to show that it hadn't. He'd managed to stop it in time. So, few little wobbles still for Joe. Made some very good saves in the game as well, though. But yeah, Torino just absolutely brilliant. Favourite team to watch at the moment. Lots of young players, very exciting. And I think they've got the best goal scoring record of any Torino side since the Grande Torino team of the late 40s, early 50s. So yeah, they really are something to watch at the moment.
Yeah, very impressive, and it'll be interesting to see if they can keep it going, because they're certainly one of the most fun sides to watch, that's for sure. But move on to another side that are probably not so fun to watch if you're a supporter of them at home matches. Palermo. Surely they are just another week away from another manager because they've lost again.
Yeah, not surprising result, to be honest. Milan were the visitors here. Milan won 2-1. Palermo actually did play quite well, to be fair. They did let Milan score from a complete mistake. Goalkeeper and defender both calling for the ball, not quite knocking each other out of the way, but basically leaving an empty net, for which Suso then saw the ball coming down and said, "Thank you very much," and rifled it in for about 12 yards. That was about 10 minutes in. But the Milan side that we've spoken about, who've obviously been very, very exciting and doing really well this season, there's nothing to take away from them. The one thing that they've got in bundles of is obviously youth and all that energy and excitement. The problem that has caused them, though, is that maybe they lack that little bit of experience of when to kill off a game or not, because they basically switched off after that. And Palermo started to play some really, really good football and really got back into the game, and deservedly so, got an equaliser. Nestroversky, who I think is Macedonian or something, I'll just have to double check that. Got a goal, really good assist by Diamante, completely fooled Donnarumma in goal. Good finish from him, but that just woke Milan up, really sparked them back into life. And a young man who we spoke about a couple of times. He's only had 6 appearances so far, but he got his first Serie goal, and I think it was his first touch in the game as well. Lapadula, who Milan had bought from Pescara for, I think it was €9 million, Serie B's top goal scorer last season. Got his goal. It's put down as assist by Suso. It was actually a Suso strike because Milan were just hammering Palermo's goal by this point, trying to get their lead back. He's rifled the ball into a very packed box, and as the ball was coming towards him, Lapadula just very cleverly little backheel flick with his left foot into the goal. So got himself his first goal in Serie A, first goal for Milan. He's very happy running around celebrating. After that, Milan were very comfortable and Palermo done. As you already said, De Zerbi, who obviously came in for the already sacked manager this season for Palermo, is probably on his way out very soon. Also, Zamparini is actually trying to sell the club Palermo, so even more mess for them. Another good win, though, for Milan. Consolidated top 3 position for the international break. Rotated play as well. Locatelli playing again, the young 18-year-old Italian midfielder. So lots of exciting stuff for them, and good to see them back up near the top of the table.
Good. As you said earlier on in the season, it's as much as we're into followers, it's good to see Milan sort of doing something other than foul everything up, to put it politely. So yeah, good to see them back. And our final game I want to cover in a bit more detail is SAS, who we touched on them last week in your absence, actually, just saying that they're not quite right this season. The Europa League, I think, has quite a big part to play in that issue, but they're struggling. But the side that they unfortunately lost to this week are not struggling. In fact, they're really impressing under youth players and a different style of management, and that is Atalanta.
Yeah, Gasparini is doing some really good stuff there. As you say, they've got a lot of young players in the team. We've kind of done a theme of all the sides, really. Torino got very young players, Milan as well, that's where all the excitement is, and Atalanta the same. They were 7 games without defeat coming into this one against the Sassuolo side, who have had a mixed season, had some good performances. As you say, they've really struggled because of the Europa League. It's really starting to affect their form. I said, I love watching Sassuolo, and they play lovely football. I think Di Francesco is one of the best managers in the league and will really go on to great things. But they're missing Berardi big time at the moment. De Frel was the best player in the game for them. He hit the post and the crossbar, and that was their 2 probably only chances they had. Obviously, if they'd gone in, maybe it's a bit different. But Atalanta ended up winning 3-0. Conti, Caldara, and Gomez with the goals for Atalanta, and they're just on an incredible run of form. I didn't expect them to be doing this well. Gasparini seems to have really energised the side and got them playing lovely football. As for Swas, it's a little bit worrying. No word yet as to when Berardi's going to be coming back. But even then, it's not just him. Lirala got injured during the game as well and had to go off, and it was just another one added to the list. And I think it's something like 9 or 10 players that now got out injured. And just the distances that they're having to cover for the Europa League. I think they played Rapid Vienna in midweek, and it was a 2-2. They had to go and play that and then travel back, and with an already stretched squad, it's just they're finding it so difficult, and they just came up against a team in great form. So yeah, if you want to watch teams at the moment, really is Milan, Torino, and Atalanta are the 3 sort of really exciting sides to watch in Italy at the moment, and it is all young players who are coming through, and most importantly for the Italian national side, a lot of them are young Italian players as well. A certain man named Gomez is not Italian, but we'll come on to that later.
Yeah, definitely in the news section we will. What was the other results? Because fourth met third in a rather large encounter this weekend. Was there a winner in that one? And give us the other results.
Yes, so the other results. Saturday, Napoli played Lazio. A very good game. I think it was the one I highlighted, or I told you to highlight, probably. I think you did, yeah, because it wasn't on last week.
I think I picked it out.
Yeah. It finished 1-1, but it was nonetheless a very exciting game. Keita and Hamsik with the goals respectively. The early game on a Sunday, Empoli, I would have covered this otherwise if it wasn't for the fact we sort of wanted to keep it a little bit on theme. Empoli ran out 4-0 winners against Pescara, struggling down the bottom, but putting in an absolutely brilliant performance. And Big Mac, Massimo Macaroni, got himself 2 goals and an assist in that game. I think he's about 60 now. Yeah, really good result for Empoli. Kiev lost 1-2 to Juventus. Mandzukic and Pjanic with the goals there for Juve. Genoa Udinese was 1-0. Your old friend Ocampos, Kris, with the goal for Genoa.
Big Lucas, yes.
Yeah, and Faru for Udinese. Then Fiorentina Sampdoria. Bernardeschi coming back just in time to help Fiorentina get a 1-0. Muriel with the goal for Samp. Our lovely team Inter got a 3-0 win after all the mess they've been in. Doesn't really count though because it was at home against Crotone. Perisic and Icardi were 2 there. And then, as you were saying, Roma, absolutely brilliant performance against a really struggling Bologna side at the moment. Donadoni is starting to get under a bit of pressure there. 3-0 win. Mohamed Salah with his first career hat-trick, would you believe it? Roma in absolutely brilliant form after a bit of a shaky start to the season. Defence is all back in place now, looking really good and looking like the only team who might challenge Juve.
Did you not say on this very podcast a few weeks ago that if Mohamed Salah could learn to finish, he'd be one of the best players in Europe? I'm sure it was you that said that.
I might have said that. I'm pretty sure I said something about him needing to improve his finishing. Yeah, if he could improve his conversion rate, he'd have a ridiculous amount of goals because he's so unbelievably rapid and he runs offside traps just brilliantly. And even when teams sit deep, he just finds space all the time. But yeah, if he can improve his conversion rate, he'll just have buckets full of goals.
Yeah, definitely a good return for him for the weekend. Okay, where are we standings wise then after the weekend's action?
Yeah, Juve are still top, currently on 30 points. Roma now up to second. They're on 26, just 4 points behind them, looking like the only team to challenge. Milan up to third on 25 points. Lazio fourth on 22nd, tied with Atalanta, unbelievably, in fifth place, also on 22. Napoli starting to fall down the table. Our good friend that Drew told us all about that I didn't pay any attention to. The lack of Milik is starting to really affect them. Just 21 points down to 6th. Torino in 7th on 19. Fiorentina, Inter and Genoa make up the rest of the top 10. And down at the bottom, poor old Crotone, just the 1 win all season, 5 points. See, there is a team worse than Lorient, Kris, it's fine. Just above them, Palermo, Pescara, Empoli, Sass, all the way down at 16th at the moment. So, yeah, difficult season for them, but hopefully things improve.
Yes, we all want them to stay up just for that song, of course. So, yes, okay. Italy squad then announced no Mario Balotelli.
Yeah, no Mario. Sorry, it's always you, but you're not always picked, sadly. I tell you 2 players that did get in. One was Simone Zazza, who I'm sure West Ham fans are now scratching their heads at that. And also Manolo Gabardini, who I do like, but I'm sorry, Manolo, you're not really a striker, you're a second striker. I didn't quite get it. But then, of course, Gabardini got himself injured, so everyone thought Balotelli will be in. But no, Lapadula, who we mentioned for Milan, who has played 6 games, that's not 6 90 minutes games either, of Serie A football, and has got 1 goal, has got a call up over Mario. So I think Ventura's problem with him is more probably attitude than it is about performance.
Yes, that story about Gomez was.
Oh yes, sorry,
I was just going to say maybe we should share that as well about the squad.
Gomez, who had scored for Atalanta this weekend, was about to get a call up for the Italian national side until they realised that he's in fact Argentinian. Yeah.
So
every FA, it seems, makes very stupid mistakes.
Yes, that's right up there with Koulibaly in France and Didier
Yeah.
Deschamps, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right
It
up there with
does
that.
seem to be players in Serie A for some reason, but yeah, there we go.
Yes, yeah, good times, good times. Okay, again, we've got a couple of questions for you in a tick, so we'll be back to you a little later, but we will leave Serie A there, unless there's anything else. Don't think there's anything else, is there? No sackings?
Just the news, yeah, no sackings. Obviously, you spoke about De Boer going.
Oh, yes.
The talk is that Pioli, ex-Lazio, Bologna, and many other teams' manager, is to be his replacement. Most of the players are all very happy and excited about this. And it also looks like Walter Samuel will be coming in as assistant, which is very nice to bring some discipline back into the dressing room. Also, the CEO, Michael Wallenbrook, has now resigned, and the Sunning Group has put in their vice president of their company, Jean-Louis, which I hope I've pronounced correctly. I apologise if I haven't. He's now the new CEO of Inter. Fourier is still currently president. But yeah, the Pioli as manager should be official in the next day or two. He's still technically under contract to Lazio, so it's just finding the last bits of that those details out. But yeah, hopefully good news for Inter, and having a much more settled side and an Italian in charge might serve them a bit better for the season.
Yeah, about bloody time, isn't it? Yeah, let's hope it all gets sorted out. Okay, right, we will move on then and take a little whistle-stop tour around the rest of Europe, and we'll see what's going on. We've got a couple of countries to cover, and this week's Best of the Rest. Okay, we're going to take a trip. We will bring you up to speed with the playoffs in America in MLS in a second. But before we do that, we're going to focus on the Primeira Liga this week in Portugal. We'll start with the big one because for those of you listening who don't really follow, I was going to say French football then, Portuguese football, it was O Clásico, which is the meeting of Porto and Benfica. This was a really good game of football. I watched it as you'd expect. Really entertaining game of football. Benfica came into it 5 points clear of Porto at the top, and at the end of the day, that stayed the same. Both getting a point because it ended in a 1-1 draw. Quite bizarrely, though, because Porto absolutely hammered Benfica for long periods of the game. They outpossessioned them, they outcornered them, they outshot them. Everything was going in Porto's favour. Diogo Jota, or Diogo to his friends, who's building quite a reputation for himself, he put Porto in front and always looking well. He came from Atletico Madrid's youth ranks, that Tom might know of him, but he's looking like a star, only 19 years of age. Always going well for Porto, all seemed to be hunky-dory until the very last minute when I forget who it was down the touchline. One of the Porto fullbacks was trying to shepherd the ball out of play. Got dispossessed. The ball went for a corner, and wouldn't you know it, from that corner in came the ball, and Lisandro Lopez swept home a 93rd minute equaliser for Benfica to jeers, boos, whistles, rubbish, you name it. It happened at the Dragão, and it ended 1-1. So honours even, but a cracking game of football. If you missed it, you did miss out. That allowed Sporting Club Portugal, or Sporting Lisbon, whoever you prefer, to close the gap and go level with Porto because they won 3-0 against Arouca later on that night. Goals from Bas Dost, who drew, you'll know well, and a certain lesser spotted Joel Campbell also on the score sheet in that game. Arouca down to 10 men with Vitor sending off. Sporting Braga, they lost ground though. They went down to 5th because they lost away at Maritimo, who climbed to 9th on the same evening. Vitor Guimarães, probably the surprise package of recent weeks, 4 wins from 5 for them. They won 2-1 over Nacional, so they are currently in 4th, and we've got Chaves, Vitória Setúbal, Boa Vista, Maritimo and Belenenses are the top 10. Down at the bottom, Tondela are starting to look a little bit doomed. They've only got 6 points for their 10 games, and the defeat to Estoril 2-0 this weekend. Aruca are also struggling there, second bottom. We said they lost to Sporting, and Morinense, always sound like a Brazilian side. They're just outside the relegation zone, as are Nacional. Paços de Ferreira are really struggling this season as well. They're down in 14th position with a 1-1 draw with Chaves this week. Chaves are also high flyers, rather unexpectedly up there in 6th. So that is Portugal. After the international break, the big three obviously in action again. Benfica are away at Maritimo. We've got home to Moreirense, on the Sunday. They got Maritimo after that. My apologies. Sporting Club de Portugal, they're away at Boa Vista, and Porto face a tough-looking task as they go away to Belenenses. It's always a bit of a tough ground for them to visit. So keep your eye on the Liga, or is it Taca de Liga or Liga Sagres? I always get confused.
I think it's Liga Sagres now, isn't it? I don't know.
That'll do.
They change it all the time.
the League of Beer. So hopefully that will be a league worth following, because I always quite enjoy it, I must admit. It's really, really good league to follow, and quite competitive amongst those top three. So we will keep in touch with Portugal as the season progresses. So we will now move it across the pond, and as we've been mentioning on this podcast the last few weeks, MLS is in its playoff stage, and you might recall on last week's podcast we had the first legs of the conference semi-finals. We had Montreal Impact. They were 1-0 winners over New York Red Bulls. Or they went to New York Stadium, and wouldn't you know it, they won again. So one of the favourites dumped out. New York Red Bulls losing 2-1 at home. If you haven't seen Ignacio Piatti's first of his 2 goals, it is an absolute rocket. Do look that up. It's a stunning goal. So 2-1 victory for the Impact. Bradley Wright Phillips equalised for New York Red Bulls. Piatti's late 85th minute clincher meant they go through 3-1 on aggregate, the Canadian side, and they are joined by another Canadian side, because New York City FC, Patrick Vieira's project, is come to a halt, because over the 2 legs they lost 7-0 on aggregate. They lost 5-0 at home, trailing 2-0 from the first leg. John, one of our favourites, Sebastian Giovinco, the Atomic Ant, bagging a hat-trick. A couple of really good goals in that game as well.
I don't think it's fair that he's allowed to play in that league sometimes.
Oh, it's outrageous. And how he's not been nominated for the MLS
the MVP, is it? Yeah.
Absolutely bizarre, because he's been unbelievably good. Osario also got a goal. And Jose Altidore, I tweeted last night, I said, I wonder if Sunderland fans are looking at Jose Altidore and going, is that actually Victor Anachibi? Because the goal he scored was identical to Anachibi's for Sunderland at the weekend, and they do look quite alike in their frame and the way they play the game. So it's quite bizarre to see them score an identical goal. Absolute thunderbolt from Altidore, who's getting back to the form that saw him get a move over here in the first place. So Toronto are through. In the other 2 games, LA Galaxy, they've gone as well. Poor old Stevie G, he'll be coming back home soon, I'm sure, because they lost to Colorado Rapids on penalties. Big Tim Howard, with his beard, his massive beard, saved 3 spot kicks. It ended 1-0 after extra time, which was 1-1 on aggregate, and Galaxy lose on penalties. One Ashley Cole missing one of those penalties, unfortunately for him. So the Rapids are through. So Galaxy and New York Red Bulls gone, just to repeat. New York City FC gone, and Dallas have also gone. Seattle Sounders found their form right at the end of the season, really kicking into gear late on. They made a late burst for the playoffs. There's always one that does it. They got in and they got through. They won 3-0 home to Dallas in the first leg. Valdez and Lodiero with 2 goals there. And they completed the job despite losing the second leg. They lost 2-1 to Dallas. Lodero with another goal there, but Akindele and Aruti's goals were in vain. And the Supporters' Shield winners and MLS Cup winners, it's still not a bad season, is it, to win those 2? But they don't get the big trophy. They're not going to win the overall MLS trophy, so they have ditched as well. So just to let you know where that stands us now, then Montreal Impact will face Toronto. It's a Canadian derby. There'll be lots of A's all around that one. Superb. So Montreal face Toronto in the first leg on Wednesday the 23rd of November, and on the very same night Seattle Sounders will host the first leg against Colorado Rapids at the Seattle Stadium, which name escapes me. So what's it called, Drew? Help me out here.
Say that again?
Oh, Seattle's home stadium. I always forget the name of it.
I don't watch MLS. How would I know?
Oh, you should do. CenturyLink Field.
No, absolutely not. I refuse.
Oh, it's a wonderful stadium. The Seattle Seahawks play there, but it's a beautiful stadium.
Oh, I see. So, I didn't watch NFL. Get out of my face.
If you said Seahawks, then I would have got that.
You see, there you go.
Tune in next week for the Football Hipsters American Football Podcast, or not. I won't be on that one. So there you go. So yeah, it's hotting up, and even if you're not a fan of MLS, it's been fun. It's been fun, and again, if you want a little preview of it, Jimmy's blog is still available on our website. Have a look at that. Still a good read. It's not out of date because he previews all the sides that made it through to the quarterfinals. So have a look, pick your favourites, and enjoy it. That Canadian derby should be really good fun. Right, okay, let's leave that there then for the best of the rest, and we're going to move on now. Before we look at your questions, we have time for this week's Hipsters Choice. All right, one for Drew's ears to prick up at this stage, because we're going to go to Holland or the Netherlands, whichever you prefer, for this week's Hipster's Choice. It's a young man who's making his name at Ajax Amsterdam, and he goes by the name of Hakim Ziyech. So what do we know about Hakim Ziyech? Well, he is indeed Ajax's number 22. He is a Moroccan by birth. He's born on the 19th of March 1993, making him 23 years of age. He was born in Dronten in Holland. He's 5'11" and 149 pounds. Left-footed attacking midfielder, wide or central. You can follow him on Twitter or stalk him, whichever you prefer. Play nice kids. He's at HZIYEC11. So there you go. You can follow him there. So anyone who's spoken to a fan of the Dutch Eredivisie has probably heard stories about the Dutch-born Moroccan international Hakim Ziyech, and now plying his trade at Ajax. Among those in the Eredivisie, it seems as though Ziyech has been around for years, but at 23 years of age, his career is only just beginning. Its career began back in 2004 when he joined Heerenveen and FC MN Football Academy at the age of 11. He quickly caught the eye of his advancing level of technique and ability and his set-piece savvy, and he made his debut in the Heerenveen squad in the early stages of the 2012 season. He appeared as a late 7 Europa League third qualifying round against Rapid Bucharest, and 10 days later debuted against NEC Nijmegen. In his first appearance for Heerenveen first team, Ziyech managed only to make 8 first-team appearances of that season, but it was enough to convince the then-manager, Marco van Basten, what a legend, to give him the prolonged run following the following season. He made 35 appearances in all competitions and scored 11 goals. It was only a matter of time before the bigger names came calling in for Ziyech's services, and so it proved. The 2014-15 season started with 2 goals and 2 appearances for the Moroccan before he was snapped up by local rivals FC Twente in a deal rumoured to be worth £2.6 million. He carried his fine form early into the Pride of the East, making 38 appearances in all competitions, scoring 15 goals. And much like Heerenveen, Ziyech's stay at FC Twente was short. His second season at Twente saw him score 17 and 34, which is his best return of his career so far, and his performances then drew the attentions of clubs far and wide. And while rumours of a move to Swansea or Southampton in the Premier League, Deportivo of La Liga and Fenerbahce of Turkey all doing the rounds, it was the Dutch giants Ajax who claimed his signature the following season in a deal worth £9.5 million. Which back then was big money, by the way. Despite his career at Ajax only beginning in September of this year, Ziyech has scored 8 goals in 8 appearances, not bad, and has helped De Groningen up to second in the Eredivisie behind leaders Feyenoord. Yes, true. Feyenoord, by only 2 points. With the January transfer window approaching, Ziyech's name has already been linked with a host of European clubs once more, but it doesn't appear that his time at Ajax will be cut short just yet. On the international front, Ziyech, despite being born in Holland itself, he has been called up by the Dutch national side in May 2015, but the winger opted to represent Morocco internationally. So far, Ziyech has managed 9 appearances, scoring 5 times. Again, not bad. And that's an international side that, of course, features the likes of Sofiane Boufal, Jonas Belanda, Nordin Amrabat, and Mehdi Benatia, and of course a certain other gentleman who I'm sure you can work out who's missing from that list. And Ziyech's technical ability, quick feet, a diverse range of passing, and wicked strikes, and ever troubling free kicks have made him one of the hottest properties in world football today. And it seems set to be the player that in a season or two's time will be recognised the world over for his indomitable talent and irrepressible ability. So that is Hakam Ziyech. Drew, you obviously follow the Eredivisie fairly closely, where your Feyenoord team are having a lovely season, although they did have a little bit of a slip up yesterday, unexpectedly.
You literally just jinxed it, so...
Soz. Go ahead, Eagles. My goodness, what a surprise. But Ziyech, you've seen a bit of him. You've obviously seen quite a lot of Ajax, and you've seen quite a lot of players come out of Ajax's academy over the years. He's not an academy product, but he's been there at a young age, and he's doing pretty well this season. What sort of player can you best compare him to, and what sort of future do you foresee him having?
I hate player comparisons, honestly. I would rather, instead of saying he's like this player, I'll just tell you what kind of player he is. I think for me, he's an excellent all-around attacking player. People know him like he's so good at dead ball situations. Obviously, he's very, very direct. He loves to get forward. He's so strong on the ball and taking on his man. But for a player who can either play as a number 10, he can play on the right-hand side of the attack. He can also sometimes, when called upon, play on the left. He can also play in center mid. He's very, very versatile in an attacking sense. He won't offer a ton on a defensive aspect of the game, but honestly, he's not there to do that. They have like Nemanja Gudelic, for example, where that's his sole purpose in life in that starting 11. So he can pick the ball up and run at you and create space with the ball at his feet. Or oddly enough, he's also very, very, very creative for a player who is known for how good technically he is running at you. I think right now he creates, I think I looked at about 3.81 chances created per 90 minutes for Ajax right now, and 3.05 key passes per 90 minutes. That's absolutely ridiculous, both of those stats. And in the side that don't lack creativity, they have Davy Klaassen is another. Lasse Schön is still relatively creative. Bertrand Traore, Armin Younes on the flanks. All these players and Daley Sinkgraven as well. All these players they have at least a certain degree of creativity, if not an astounding amount of it. They all can provide. But right now, Ziyech, he leads the side in assists with 5 in Eredivisie right now. Ajax have a bunch of goal scorers as well, so goals are getting thrown around. But I think with him, I would say he'd be there for a while, but I can't see it happening. He's already at his age where a lot of Dutch players will leave the Netherlands, at 20, 21, and then they'll falter because if you look at Memphis Depay as a prime example, he had that brilliant World Cup display. I think, but he left the Netherlands a little too early. You can't really say that the league it's second rate at this point. It's still brilliant at developing players, but it's not nearly on the biggest stage. So a lot of the players think, I had 1 billion season. It's time for me to move on. I've outgrown the league. That's not necessarily true. You can have a great season in the Netherlands and still not outgrown the league yet. He's still getting European football with Ajax. He's at a big club. He's still at a club who's known more than almost any other club in the world at developing talent. So he's at the right spot to nurture his ability. He wasn't going to get a ton of that at 20, honestly. I think Ajax is going to be the one to sort of sign off on him before he moves on. I think, I could see him staying there until he's 25, this season, next season, and then he might move on. But I don't think they're going to get a lot of longevity out of him. It's tough for a lot of Dutch clubs to get longevity out of any player these days, honestly. So what level can I see him getting to? I think he can end up being good enough to playing for any of the big clubs in the world. And that includes Bayern, Real, Barca, that level. I think he is that good. And it's difficult because a lot of North African attacking players, they'll have like 1 or 2 really good seasons and then fall off, but you track Boufal quite a bit. I know you have high praise for him as well, and you think he can reach the next level as well. And I think the same thing from Ziyech, actually. So the fact that they both play for the same national team, if Morocco can just get, I don't know, they need to improve in other areas on the pitch, but that's a really good core of 2 good young attacking players who can really at least get them really kicking on in the domestic, the African Cup of Nations, for example. I don't think they're going to conquer the world, obviously, but I think Ziyech is definitely a player that you're going to see a lot more of, and in a much bigger league and in a much bigger stage, probably not too much longer.
Yeah, agreed. And the biggest, I suppose, the obvious comparison with sort of West African footballers is Riyad Mahrez, of course, which I resisted temptation to put as a comparison in the piece. But no, he looks
North African, not West African.
Oh, is it West Africa? Well, of African descent, shall we say? Yeah.
Well, you said West African, but it's North African.
Soz, my geography's never been my strong point.
Awful.
Sorry, I know, terrible.
Tom will have a child, but
he will. He literally will. It will all go off. He's another one to add to our Hipsters Choice on our website. And if you want to, we keep saying this, but if you get bored and you just want to listen back, myself and John actually pre-record tonight. We had a look back at the previous Hipsters Choices that we've put on the website that we've covered before, and there's quite a few that have moved clubs. Funny enough, since we last did them. So if you go to our website, which is the footballhipsterspodcast.co.uk, very underrated website, may I say so myself. If you scroll along to the tab of Hipsters Choices, you can find all of our previous Hipsters Choice inductees, and indeed the current ones. They've all got pretty pictures, and they've all got a time check against their names, so you can go onto our podcast, scroll through all of us talking a load of rubbish, and get to the nitty-gritty of player profiles and see what you think. I can tell you that our next podcast, which of course won't be next week, it'll be the week after because we've got an international break, we will be covering a Colombian. I know, shock horror, and he goes by the name of Yerry Mina, who some people who are real hipsters will know of. A lot of you will not have heard of this man at all, so stay tuned. We'll give you all the lowdown. And my thanks this week go to Ross, who Kelly had a very busy week at work, so was unable to help us out this week. So she handed over the grateful reins to Ross, who jumped at the chance because he remembered signing Ziyech on Football Manager. You've got to love that, haven't you? So many thanks to Ross for compiling the notes for this week. Right, before we leave you, we've got a couple of questions that we're going to just whip through in this extra special bumper-packed edition of our podcast. So let's get to it then. It's this week's Onion Bag. Right then, let's get to these questions, gentlemen. I'm going to start with a couple of questions from some bloke you two might know. Goes by the name of Simon Collings. I'm sure you're aware of who Simon is, of course. Previous guest and friend of ours. Let's start. I'm going to give the Spanish one to John just because it'll be funny. So let's give the German question to Drew first. It's all right, John. Even you can answer this one, I promise. Okay. Right, Drew, Simon wants to ask you, can someone please explain to me what happened with Aubameyang and could he be off after it? For those who don't know, Inspector Gadget, as he's now nicknamed by his strange choice of clothing, he was left out due to disciplinary reasons for the midweek Champions League victory over Sporting. So what do we know, Drew, and what do you make of his future?
I don't honestly... I'm trying to... I don't know. For me, I don't... I think Tuchel wants to keep him there at least until other players are maybe a bit more established. Experience, development, that kind of thing. Dortmund aren't exactly lacking attacking talent, obviously, but you have Christian Pulisic has been excellent this season. Ousmane Dembele has settled excellently. But these aren't strikers. They're wide midfielders. Emery Moore is also there, another wide player. So Felix Paslick as well. We're blessed with wide players, but past Aubameyang, there's Adrian Ramos, and he's been better this season, certainly, than he has last season, but he's already 30. He's not getting regular minutes, honestly, because obviously he's behind Aubameyang and pecking order. So for me, I think it's just about keeping him happy, but I honestly think that if you read past everything that's going on, I think he feels it's time to leave. He's 27 now. He's in his prime. And if Dortmund aren't really going to challenge Bayern in the foreseeable future for a legitimate chance, it wouldn't have been Bundesliga. I think he wants to move on. And I do feel that he does want to go to Real. Everyone's heard the rumors that, he promised his grandmother that, who was Spanish, that he would go play at Real. He himself said that he's not ruling out ever leaving the club, obviously, and there's strong links with him moving this past summer. But, certain cards didn't fall for him to get that move. But I don't think he's going to be there much longer. In fact, it would not surprise me if he did leave this coming summer. But Dortmund are going to get so much money for him that they can replace him, at least in theory, with someone who is of the same or close to that same quality, given the amount of money they're going to get. They won't let him go for anything less than £60 million minimum. And they're going to want a little bit more than that, considering the amount of goals he scored over the last 2 years. So the future, I think he's got 1 year left. I think it's this last season. And because I don't see Dortmund winning the league, I think he'll go. So.
Yeah, I agree. I do think he will move in the summer, and I'm going to call this now, controversially. I think one Alexandre Lacazette will be his replacement.
I actually would not be upset about that, because there's a lot of... You see the similarities from how Aubameyang was when he was at Saint-Etienne.
Exactly.
And Lacazette now, and then you can see how Tuchel could mold that into Lacazette really settling in very, very, very quickly.
Absolutely, and of course flanked by Dembele, who he would know well in Liga, and Emre Moore is as close to Fekir in sort of the way he plays off of a front man as you'll get. So
yes.
Yeah, could see that working out. So you heard it here first. If that comes off, I will spout that all over the Twitter forever. Anyway, John, you can have the Spanish-based question from Simon. It's not too bad, so you should be all right on this one. He wants to just talk about Antoine Griezmann. He wanted to ask you, what do you make of all the rumours linking him with Manchester United? Any thoughts on whether you could see him as a Premier League player and indeed at Old Trafford?
Oh, well. I mean, I could see him in the Premier League one day. The problem with going to Manchester United is it's got the appeal of obviously a huge club and great history and so many trophies, and you've got Jose Mourinho, who's obviously a manager that lots of players, not all players, but lots of players do want to play for. But the issue is that they're not performing right now. And if they keep at this level, not only will they not have Champions League next season, they may not even have Europa League. So I can't see why Griezmann would go there. If Man City came in for him, or Chelsea, I think probably the only two clubs realistically in the Premier League other than Manchester United that could afford him, I could see that. But unless Man United completely have a turnaround in form and go on to win the league, which obviously is not out of the question, it's obviously very early on in the Premier League season, then I can't really see it, because at current form they're going to struggle to be in Europe next season.
I would agree with that. Sorry, I just sneezed there. I do apologise.
That's all right.
And I must apologise for sniffing over Drew a minute ago as well, by the way. I missed the mute button. Sorry about that, Drew. Right, we've got one more question each, actually, from some of our listeners. So I've got a question. Yay! And it's my good friend PG, at PG_Nez. My fellow French football follower, and he wanted to ask: Nice lost for the first time this season in the league. Is it a mere stumble? Are they genuine title contenders? This is such a tough question, isn't it, PG? Because I want to believe they are. I really do, because a three-way title race is not only good for the viewing public and for the neutral, but it's also really good for French football. Everyone knows that the running joke is that I cover the weakest of the four major leagues in Europe, excluding the Premier League. And yeah, it probably is, in fairness, if we're completely honest. But at the same time, I really hope Nice can sustain it. I've said before in this podcast, and I'll say it again, I think going out of the Europa League is their best shot at potentially sustaining a title challenge. And also that includes both cups, by the way, which French cups are not taken particularly seriously anyway. So I don't think they'll worry too much. I do worry about Lucien Favre sort of keeping with the same the same lineup for sort of 3 games running, including 2 of those Europa Cup games, and then straight into the league. I do worry a bit about that. Obviously, a lot's going to hinge on Mario Balotelli as well. Will he have another sort of crazy incident and undo all his good work? I hope not, because it seems like he's finally found a club that kind of loves him. And it'd just be nice to, I'm sure John would agree, just be nice to see him stabilise and just be the player that we all know he can be on his day. Lots of young talent, and I think obviously injuries are going to play a big part. Like Kosciello are going to be crucial, and also that just the sort of the way they play football is so key around the pacey players in their lineup. Balotelli is obviously the focal point. He's the one that grabs the attention. But I've been impressed with some of their other players that have gone slightly unheralded this season. Drew, you'll know all about Dante, who's largely sort of written off by Bayern. He's been really, really good. They've got a young centre-back who's just signed a new deal actually today, who's really highly rated, Malang Sarr, who's only 17 years of age, and Favre thinks the world of him. He's an absolutely brilliant centre-back. Loris is another young up-and-coming centre-back. Paul Bice at the back has been very good this season. And then in midfield, Cyprien, Remy Walter, who's sort of coming in and out. He's made 7 appearances this season. Serie is also another key player. And Yunus Bahanda, who's gone really under the radar, has been excellent. And not to mention, of course, Alisson Player, who I really like up front. So they've got the tools. I still think Monaco and PSG are going to be the two, but I really hope Nice sustain it. So I hope they can sustain it. And I do think the Cannes game was just a stumble. They did everything but score, and they did look tired. So hopefully the international break will refresh them, and away they go again. So good question. Thank you, PG. Next one, let's go to John. This one comes from Michael Filetti, at Mike Filetti, our regular listener. Thanks, Michael. He wants to know, do you think either of the Milan clubs will get into Europe this season?
Oh, he's trolling me again. He was doing it on Twitter the other day as I was crying about Laic and not having him at Inter. But yeah, no, good question. I do enjoy our little conversations. I honestly, with Inter, I've got no idea. If they could get Europa League, it would be impressive because they've been so all over the place. They've got the players to do it. Whether, if Pioli is the manager, as it looks like, him coming in, if he can stabilise them and turn them around enough, then it's a possibility. Milan, on the other hand, I'd say they're a shoo-in for the Europa League at least. Champions League might be a stretch. It's possible. I mean, they don't have midweek games. They don't have Europe at all, so they get to rest. And Napoli's drop-off, Milan can really exploit that and take advantage. It depends how much this dip with Napoli continues. It's obviously early days and they're still trying to work out how to play without Milik, and Gabbiadini isn't working out, Dries Mertens as a false nine isn't working out. If they don't reinforce in January in the striker front, then Milan can totally go and exploit it and maybe get a Champions League spot. That might be a season too early for them, but it'd be fantastic for the club. But a season too early in terms of for the age of the players they've got there, but for the club itself it'd be amazing. But I think Europa League, without a doubt, they're just really exciting to watch and they can always score goals, so you're always going to be a threat.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Inter, I mean, God knows. We just don't know, do we? We'll finish with a question for Drew. Again, this one comes from Emmanuel Davila, another regular listener to ourselves. I'm at Emmanuel C. Davila. He wants to ask you, Drew, do you think what Leicester achieved last season inspires other European clubs? He highlights Nice, RB Leipzig, Sevilla, Monaco, etc. I've asked you this question because Leipzig are the obvious story. Even slightly differently, of course, because Leicester didn't do it with the money. Well, I suppose they did do it with a bit of money.
Leicester aren't broke.
No, that's fair play.
But I think RBL are pretty strong financially, though.
Yeah, exactly. And they're the closest comparison in that they've come from nowhere to be where they are. So that's a good comparison. Do you think Emmanuel's got a point there? Do you think Leicester have sort of inspired other teams to go, well, actually, we can do this?
Well, I think it's got to. I mean, there are certain times that you can accuse a club of maybe setting the bar a little bit too high for a certain season. I think we can all cite references of the last half decade at least where we can think of at least one club that's done it. But I think as long as a club is run properly on the back end, if they've got the right manager in place, if they have players, whether they already had there previously or players that they've brought in with the financial resources they do have at their disposal, that they can build a core that they want to keep together for the foreseeable future, I think anything is possible in football. It's always difficult to oust someone like Bayern off the perch, but again, Leicester defied the odds in arguably the toughest league in the world when it comes to the length of a season, the fact that there's 2 domestic competitions, the fact that there are too many clubs in that league with a lot of money that they can just buy to solve a problem. You don't have that in any other league in the world. You could probably say with a certain degree of certainty that despite all that, Leicester still won the league. All they needed was a few key players and the right roles in the right spots on the pitch, and they had a bunch of workhorses surrounding them, and they let those players shine, and they worked hard for each other. They had the right spirit in the locker room. They had a manager who believed in them, and most importantly, they had supporters who believed in what they were accomplishing. I think that people often enough don't talk about the mental side of football, where if you see a run of results that you have, and you base those results off of the hard work you're putting in, you can just connect the dots and see if you keep working this hard, you'll keep getting results. I think that mental strength is maybe the most important aspect of it. You know, if you're a mentally tough team who never lose your belief in what you're doing, then you can achieve anything. I mean, it sounds cliche and kind of like almost Mighty Ducks-ish, but RBL have a more talented team than Leicester had last season in regards to the amount of a good, strong attacking talent they do have. I don't know if they'll go on to win the league this year, but there's no reason why they can't go from promotion to Champions League this season based off of what you've seen. I do think that Leicester can take a bit of credit and say, you know, we may have set the bar for smaller clubs who do have that belief that, yeah, you can go on and turn a head or two but you have to believe that. You can't just say, well, Leicester do it. Well, we can, but you still have to believe that you can, or else you're really wrong.
Good answer. Good question, that as well. Good question. And please do keep them coming. We always say each week we do put out the tweet quite late in the day. If you've got a question for us, please just give us a shout. In fact, do what our good friend Jimmy and Angula does. Just ping me a tweet directly, or Drew or John or Tom, and just let them know you're sending a question, and either send it to them on Twitter directly, or you can direct message the Twitter box on the Hipsters podcast, and we will do our best to get to it. Just ping us a message just to remind us that to do the question, and we'll get it done. So if you're watching a game and you suddenly think, oh, I need to ask that question, then please send it our way, and we'll do our very best to either bodge an answer and pretend we know stuff. No, I'm joking. Or we will indeed do our research and find out the answer for it, or give our opinions. So please do share those questions. Right, okay. Bumper podcast this week, because we thought we'd give you a little bit of extra minutes, seeing as we got such a long international break. What is it, 10 days, gentlemen? We're back in 2 weeks, aren't we? I think we are. Yep. Ugh, God. Well, we'll do your best to enjoy international football. I'm sure not all of our listeners hate it as much as we do, but I'm a sucker for club football, can't help it. But hopefully you can find a team that tickles your fancy to watch. I'm sure we'll still watch some games. A couple of quick plugs before we go. Our latest blog from our new friend Jake Bayliss, who's written a piece on the Bundesliga, following up his piece on Aston Villa. He's written a piece on why he is a converted Bundesliga fan. There you are, Drew, one for you for bedtime reading. I
read as much of it as I could, given the week I've had, and he's pretty spot on about why I love the Bundesliga as well. So kudos to you, good sir. Thanks for contributing.
There you go, Jake. That's the stamp of approval if ever I heard one. Dark Justice has confirmed he enjoyed it. Good times. And we are working hard on getting some new bloggers in and stuff. And again, if you fancy writing for us, if you've got something you want to put on paper, the only thing we ask you to do is be passionate, write about something you love or something that really sort of interests you, and just have a quick flick through the old punctuation thing, purely because it saves us a lot of time having to sort of piece through bits and bobs. But I'll do as much editing as I can. So have a quick look through, write a piece, and send it our way. It can be short, can be long. Check out our blogs on the website. You can see previous works.
It does have to be about football, though.
Yeah. Yeah, don't send us your thoughts on immigration law or the American presidency, or that.
You had to bring it up tomorrow's end of my life, no matter who gets elected.
I was going to say, Trudy will be gone next week, so don't treat us like Germany. But no, if there's anything that really you're really passionate about Bundesliga wise, football wise, I've got Bundesliga on the brain. Just give us a shout. If you want to write for us, feel free. And equally, if you've got anything you want to talk to us about, let us know. We'll do our best. The only other things to plug is we're working hard to get a really big name guest. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that I'm going to sit down with this week and have a little chat for about half hour or so. So I don't want to say who it is yet, because I'm a bit paranoid that it won't happen. So panic stations. But hopefully, if we can get him, it is a him, I can confirm that, it will be one that our listeners will love. So hopefully that comes off. John, we're also working on a chap who you mentioned, that Torino side of the 40s, their manager at the time. We're kind of working on a gentleman who's written a very, very good piece about this, which was actually featured on another podcast podcast I listened to recently. And if we can get things sorted out again, time-wise, we're trying to make lots of things work. But if we can make it work, we're going to speak to a chap called Dominic Bliss, who, if you don't follow him, he's at the Inside Lefty. And the gentleman in question is Erno Erbstein, who's the Holocaust survivor who guided Torino to championships in Serie A back in the day when foreigners, of course, or foreign players were banned from Serie A. It's quite the story. So we're working hard to get him on as well. So stay tuned for that. And the final plug, myself and Ross are going to be joined by our friend from previous, Natalie Dean, and another friend who's a friend to us personally, a chap called Josh Dorr, who's he follows Brighton, and Natalie follows Sheffield Wednesday. So you can probably guess we're going to sit down and have a little chat about the championship during this international break. So we should have a few specials coming your way during this break, so hopefully you won't be podcastless for 2 weeks. So stay tuned to our Twitter feed, and as we get the updates, we will let you know. Right, that's it from us then. You can follow us on all the usual places of SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, or on our website. All sorts of different places you can get us. So do subscribe, give us a review or a like, whatever you subscribe with. And my thanks to my guests. Drew, first of all. Drew, where can people find you if they want to tweet you abuse or friendliness?
Hopefully not abuse, but again, with Trump in office, you never know. We'll be at AFC BVB 1410.
Superb. And also thank you to John. Where can they find you, John?
At JWelsh84.
Splendid. Super. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. And of course, thank you to Tom, who's had to leave us early. So thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time as usual. And I'll no doubt speak to you again before the next international break is done and dusted. So thank you very much.
Cheers.
Anytime.
And thank you to our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you. Tweet us your thoughts. And as I say, do your best to enjoy your international break. We will, promise. Thank you very much. Keep your beers strong and your glasses trendy. And we'll speak to you in a fortnight's time.